This is Life's a Pitch TV. Main sponsor, DPS Tech. Also supported by Lackens, all about hearing. Forward Floors, Ginger Pickle, Fred Olsen Logistics, The Dove, Seckford Golf Club, Ashford Wright, John Keeble Cars, Venue 16, The Hudson Group, Come Hither Design, Sound 4 Pro Audio, and Suffolk Sound. Our charities this year, Cancer Support Suffolk and the Ipswich Town Community Foundation.
Welcome to the DPS Tech Arena for this week's edition of Life's a Pitch TV. What a fantastic crowd. You're almost as good as last week's. Almost. I'm your host, Mark Murphy. Welcome to the show. Let me introduce to the team, Terry Butcher, Russell Osman, and Luke Chambers. Welcome along to the show. Thank you very much as well to our technical team down the front here. We've got Richard, we've got John, we've got Josh, we've got Mark, we've got Finn. They make it happen. Give them a big round of applause, everybody. We couldn't do it without them. And our studio managers, Sarah Jane and Leslie as well. Well done. Also, don't forget we're on YouTube, so if you watch YouTube, like and subscribe. You'll get all sorts of notifications when we're bringing up new shows, etc., and you're welcome on podcast and on Suffolk Sound as well on a Saturday lunchtime. So wherever you are listening or watching, you are most welcome. Now, just like last week, we've got 3 amazing Ipswich Town legends to join us on stage. So would you please welcome onto stage Matt Holland. Would you also make as much noise for Simon Milton? Come on, Milts. He's got his gin and tonic ready. And last but by no means least, would you please welcome Jason Dazelle. Fantastic. Welcome to the 3 of you. Jason, just how close to Portman Road were you when you were growing up?
About 400 yards away when I lived in Elliott Street. And I've always said this, you know, that time and period, Ipswich Town, I was blessed to live there and support Ipswich at the same time. Because in the space of 3 years, I got the FA Cup final as an 11-year-old and the 81 team in 81. So I was pretty much blessed to be a young kid supporting Ipswich Town at that time because of the success they had. Some fantastic players sitting next. Roger Osborne, 11 years old, was at Wembley, scored that goal, made me the happiest kid in the world. And then going to watch the 81 side, George, Walkie, and then, you know, at 12 years old, I'm in the North Stand thinking, if someone would have asked me in 3 years' time, you'd have been playing with some of these guys, I said, shut up, you need locking up or something. But it happened, and I was truly blessed to play with these fantastic footballers.
It's an absolute dream to play for your hometown club, isn't it?
I lived a dream, yeah, definitely.
And who did you encounter first of all when you arrived as a young player at Portman Road? Who were the squad players that you were looking up to?
Well, walking from my house to Portman Road, they gave me the day off school. I was only thinking Butcher and Osman because I was a forward then, And I know, I was thinking, how am I going to do this? But, you know, the order of the day is play a lot of one touch so they can't kick you, and then go from there. So, yeah, but I walked into the, well, I hid for a little bit in the boiler room when I walked in there, so I was just in awe of these guys. So if you know Putnam Road, the changing room, there's a boiler room on the right. I went and hid in there for 20 minutes or so. I was too scared to go in because I'm just in awe. But I had a big afro then, so my head's above the towels. Jason, is that you? Yeah, just looking for a towel. and then they took me into the first team changing room, which, it was just magnificent.
I think
Jason,
sometimes we forget how... Sorry,
Mark.
Russ, go on.
When they said go and warm up, they didn't mean go and stand in the boiler room, mate.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, but you must understand. I'm in awe. I'm a schoolboy.
It's bad enough when you go for a new job anyway. You are the new boy in there.
Course,
but when you're going in and amongst these kind of players and stuff...
No, I'm in awe. That's all I can say. And that's why I went in there. Just tried to get my things going. And, but once I was in the changing room, it was incredible. They were fantastic to me. And even today, you know, after we finished playing football, they've still been great to me. So, yes, enough respect for them players for doing it.
I have to say, Jason, this is the best behaved you've been with that microphone because you used to wave it about everywhere. And I was going to say to you, if you wave it about again, I'm going to knock you out. I'll tell you. Yeah.
I was told to sit next to him to make sure if he did wave it around, I've got to hold it still.
Yeah. My brother's outside just in case. I knew this was going to happen. Yeah,
brilliant.
I am well behaved, Terry. Thank you.
No, it's fantastic to see you. And Milt's great to have you on. How are you now? Because you had your health scare this season as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, 5 months gone now since it happened. Reapplied for my driving license, so hopefully get that back early in June.
Thank God for that.
Yeah. Have you?
I've been wearing a chauffeur's hat for 5 months.
Because Matt lives Colchester side, and I live in Tattingstone. I said, Matt, would it be okay for you to pick me up on the way into the... Yeah. What he didn't realise was I gave him a hat and sat in the back of the car. But no, listen, people like that have been brilliant to me during this period. Losing your licence is so frustrating when you lose your independence. I've been given an electric bike, so you might have seen me up the A137 coming into town, which I've enjoyed during this weather, but I can't wait to get my licence back. But it was a wake-up call for me. I publicly came out and said, I need to look after myself a bit better, and don't spend too much time with Jason Dezelle in the evenings. But yeah, no, and I've had the all clear, like on all the scans that I've had on my brain and my heart. So I am looking after myself a little bit better. So thank you for asking.
No, pleasure. Great to see you up and about. And what was it like, Milts, when you, because you were, what age were you when you...
23.
Yeah. So what was it like for you walking into the dressing room?
I mean, it's weird because I've come out of non-league football. So imagine, plucking a player out of Bury Town now and then, going on to spend 10, 11 seasons, at the football club. So it was a totally different route. Jason's come in at 15 years old and, I've joined the club in 87. And I've looked at people like Jason, who's probably got 100 games under his belt at that stage. So, after signing a 1-year contract, I was like, this is the best opportunity I'm ever going to get in my life, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure I can stay here as long as I can. Enjoyed my non-league career because it helped me playing men's football from 17 to 23, so I had a lot of games playing men's football. But the minute I walked into the football club, it was a transition. It was just the most amazing thing, and I loved every minute. Being a professional footballer is a privilege, and if you treat it like that and try to improve yourself as much as you can, I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
But it wasn't. What did you say? 11 years was it? You stayed at the club?
Yeah, I was 23 and I finished at 35.
But it was more than that.
Oh yeah, then
afterwards you stayed for about 60 years. Was it 60 years you stayed at the club?
So I was, you can say I felt blessed and I felt lucky because, when I came to the end, George was my manager, and I remember at the end of my playing career, George said to me, before you make any decisions, go and see the chairman. Go and see David Sheepshanks. He wants to see you. So David Sheepshanks, offered me a position to stay involved at the club. I just finished playing. I was involved in the new academy, and then I moved on to the commercial side of the football club. And so in the end, I was 30 years from 87 to 2017. When I left in 2017, the club wasn't in a great place. It was a very, very difficult time. It was coming towards the end of Mick McCarthy's era, and the ownership wasn't putting any more money into it, and it was a really difficult time. But I have to say, since Matt and I have got back involved under the new regime, it's a totally different world now, and we're in a much better place, and we've seen some fantastic success.
How many positions did you actually have at the club? You had all of them, didn't you?
Yeah. But what
did you clean the cars later on? Or things like that?
What I really began to understand, when you're a player, all you're thinking about is playing, and am I in the team? Am I fit? Who are we playing? And all of that. And then when you come out of from that side, and then you start working with people like David Sheepshanks, who was chairman and chief exec at the time, you get a much better understanding of how a football club runs. And then you get a much better understanding of the fans and the supporters and what they bring and the commercial. So I went into that. There's so many players who go into coaching and go into media, but I was really interested in marketing of football and commercial side of football. And so, it's great now being part of the commercial team on a match day and bringing former players around. I have to say, George was my guest on Saturday. On Saturday, when I took him into the Bobby Robson suite, the reception he got was absolutely unbelievable. And that's how highly thought of. But that's also a reflection of our fans and our corporate customers and our people, because they never forget. And, I was just talking to Luke a minute ago. When you come up here and you're in awe of these guys. We know what these guys have achieved before us, before we get there. So many fans have said to me over the years, yeah, I remember Ipswich. When did you sign? 87. Yeah, I remember when they used to be good. Right? Because we had the wilderness years when, you guys had all left. And Jason's coming through, and I've joined that team. And it wasn't really until John Lowell came in that it transformed the football club for us again, and we had our success at that time. And as I said, absolute privilege to be playing for the club and then get into the Premier League. Absolute dream from someone who's playing non-league football at Bury Town.
Fantastic, Milts. What about you, Matt? What was it like when you came from Bournemouth, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I'll just tell you a quick story, actually. So a couple of weeks ago, George was nominated for an award at the Sportsbook of the Year Awards, kindly inviting me to the dinner at the Oval. And at the dinner was Trevor Watkins, who was the administrator at Bournemouth. When they went into administration, I was a player at Bournemouth. And he was telling me the story. I didn't know this. He's telling me the story about when Ipswich tried to sign me. So they needed to raise some money to try and save the football club. I was probably their most saleable asset. They had an offer of 150,000, he said, from a club. He can't even remember the club. He said, which we laughed at, put the phone down to them. He said, then we got an offer from 350,000 from Crystal Palace. And then he said, we laughed at them, put the phone down. He said, Ipswich came in, David Sheepshanks. He said, and he made an offer. Anyway, we met in Bournemouth with David Sheepshanks. We did some negotiations. We got up to 750,000. Then David Sheepshanks accidentally knocked his coffee over the table and all over Trevor Watkins, who was the administrator at Bournemouth. And Trevor Watkins said, well, that's going to cost you another 50 grand. David Sheepshanks went, 800 grand, done. and that's how I signed for Ipswich from Bournemouth. David Sheepshanks costed the club an extra 50 grand by knocking his coffee over the administrator at Bournemouth.
Brilliant. Who was there at the time when you arrived then?
Grant Williams would have been captain. Obviously, George was the manager. Milts might remember this. The very first day in training, you're there. You want to try and make an impression, don't you? So you want to sort of run around a bit and make a few tackles and do your job. And first day, I've sort of gotten in a little bit high on Milts and I studied him on the chest. He's probably still got the marks. But I was so keen to make an impression on the first day that I was trying to run around and do all sorts, and I actually caught Milts. But Milts was really good to me when I first joined. You sort of look up to some of the senior players, Milts being one of those. I remember I just signed, and we were playing Oxford, I think, one away game, and I wanted to take my car because I wanted to go back to Bournemouth, see my wife at the weekend. So I asked George, can I do that? And Milts kindly came in the car with me and for 2.5, 3 hours taught me through the club, the history of it, what it means to play for Ipswich Town, and we had a brilliant journey, and that really sticks in my mind. Tony Mowbray was obviously a big figure in the dressing room, someone I lent on for advice a lot. Gave me the best piece of advice I've ever been given in football, Tony Mowbray, because at the end of the first season I've been named Player of the Year, and I said, do you think I should be getting more money? He said, don't worry about the money. He said, forget the money. That's irrelevant. All you've got to concentrate is your job on the pitch. If you do your job on the pitch, the money will find you. You don't even have to worry about it. All you've got to think about is playing well on a Saturday. Just play well on a Saturday. It was a brilliant bit of advice from Tony, a great senior pro. Mark Venus lived locally to me as well. Still speak to Vino quite regularly. Adam Tanner was in the dressing room, who I've known Adam since we were sort of 10, 11. Playing together at Arsenal as youngsters. So some really good characters in the dressing room.
Can you remember me then?
Danny Sonner was in the dressing room.
Named a lot of names. I was there.
Jason Dezelle was Jason Dezelle. Yeah. I can't remember you giving me that good advice. I think everything you said I just ignored.
Keep it generic, please.
Luke, what about you when you arrived at town? Who was at town that you were mixing and mingling with?
Milts was the man who met me.
Okay.
Took me around Ipswich, all the highlights of the waterfront, and Milsom was at Kesgrave, and that was about it. That's all he showed me at the time. And
I think that probably was all to show.
No, I've got to jump in here because, to be honest, you're bringing people into Ipswich. You show them the stadium, you show them the training ground, you show them the salt house, and then you get them to sign.
Yeah.
And then you show them the town centre.
Harsh but fair, yeah.
No, we spent quite a while together on that first day. I remember driving down here with, I think it was with my dad's mate. He drove me down here because I was like, where's Ipswich then? So we moved from Forest anyway. I came down, saw it all. I thought everything was sorted. I then went on to have my medical, and then I get a phone call midway through that Marcus Evans had changed the goalposts. So I immediately got up and we left. And a week went by. Then he finally put it back to what was agreed when I first drove down. And then we got the job done. And then Milts was just guiding me through everything. Met Jace early on. He was working with the club at the time. Just everyone that I met, especially these two, just had a lasting impression on me, because when you meet people and they're so genuine, they want what's best for the club, as well as giving everyone like real, proper, honest advice about what to do, what not to do, where the club has been, where it needs to go. I bought into it straight away, and that is credit to these two. And from that, I've met Russell at the time.
I will say he was very good with my son Andre when he was with you for a little bit. So respect to you for that. Thank you.
Pleasure, mate. Of course. Well, I think that's the least we could do, right? You guys did that for me, and that's where you learn it from.
It was a difficult period, wasn't it?
Yeah. But you can only deal with the hand you dealt at the end of the day. Spent a lot of time with Russell when he was under 18s manager. And I think I learned a lot from the situation that you found yourself in when you ended up leaving the club. And I think it told me a lot about how much service and loyalty you can give to a football club, and that can be forgotten quite quickly. But when I first came down, saw the training ground, saw the stadium at the time was really good for where the club was. It was just immediately, I was like, yeah, that's where I want to be. And
it was Paul Jewell, wasn't it? People don't remember that. It was Paul Jewell that signed you.
He was brilliant when I met him twice in a hotel, and then I rocked up and we didn't have a day off for 3 months, so it went down really well with the missus, that did. So just lived in Ipswich away from her. We had a new baby.
But when you see when the club goes through hard times, you really see the character of the players in particular. And your character can't be faulted because of the way you're a captain, you're a leader. Everybody looked at you, and that was, for someone like that, it's difficult because you're not winning. You're looking at people going and no spending and sort of no hope, but you still stayed strong and you still stayed loyal and you still put a real shift in. So for that, as Ipswich Town fans, we thank you.
Yeah.
So that's the end. I'm never going to say a nice word to you again. So there we are.
It's a proper love in this.
I love up here, isn't there?
Jason, how proud were you of Andre when he made his debut?
Yeah, obviously to emulate what I did at 16, for him to go on and do it as well, your own son, and will be forever in Ipswich folklore history now, father and son, to play for Ipswich and do the same thing, score at 16. So I'm very proud of that accomplishment. We know how difficult it is to play under your dad who's played for Ipswich, the spotlight's on you, the pressure's on you, so it's not easy at all. So, he done something. He was here 3 or 4 years. He made a mark, scored on his debut at 16, same as I did. So, yeah, that will do for me.
Yeah, it is stuff for the history books, isn't it?
Yes,
It really is.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Amazing. And you talked about John Lyle Milts. Of course, you had Premier League success, didn't you? You had a team that got promoted, and it was a big jump for you. But what we've seen now is it's such a huge jump, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Matt and I have been talking about, the Premier League. You can't relate the Premier League in '92 to now. You can't even relate the Premier League in Matt's team and George's team in 2000 to now. It has just changed so much. But yeah, John Lyle just changed. You're talking to the coaches, talking to someone like Charlie Woods, and John Lyle had a lot of attributes that Bobby Robson had. So he said, "These, good coach, knows how to play, getting everybody playing the right way, but also we loved him, didn't we? Do you know what I mean? You've got this guy, the manager has got your career in the palm of his hand." Right, and your relationship with him is absolutely crucial, and you want to do anything, to please. All you're worried about is pleasing the manager, getting in the team, and he just transformed our team, gave us a belief, played away, and we just looked up to him so much. And then we got John Walk in the team as well. By the way, do you know what I mean? You're like looking at I can remember when Walkie came back from Liverpool. It was like, oh my God, Walkie's coming back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Jace, what was it like?
It was very demanding. When he used to wrap that ball into you, if your touch went off, God, he'd cuss you, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He'd give you a hard time.
And because he was looking after himself as well, we'd be coming in for training on a Monday, and John would be on the treatment table getting a massage. He hated Mondays so much, we called him Bob Geldof.
Yeah.
Right? He never trained. He'd go, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?" No, I'm not doing that.
But
You'll
still get man of the match every week.
Mate, man of the match, player of the year every year, took every penalty.
Yeah.
What a career this guy has had. Do you know what I mean? It was an absolute pleasure to have him around the club at that time. But
He's just told me he's retired.
Yeah, he's
You
just packed
retired?
up, has he?
Just packed up playing five-a-side 2 weeks ago.
He's going into
John
acting.
Walsh just
the
retired,
game.
age 97.
The game doesn't realise what
what
he's
a career.
lost. What he's lost. But it was still very, very hard, the Premier League, to stay in the Premier League, and we managed to stay in, for 3 seasons.
We got off to a good start, didn't we?
Yeah, we did,
which was vital.
Absolutely, we got ourselves up there, and we
It was like
the
fourth-
momentum was going.
Fourth in January.
Yeah, and then we couldn't win a game,
Then
could we?
went down, didn't we?
And you go by the, by skin of your teeth, staying up, and all of that. But it was, Sky was changing everything, But we, Ipswich Town, got promoted from Division 2 as champions and went into the first ever Premier League season. Again, you can't take that away.
No.
It's just a fantastic time to be involved and there's so many of the lads who are still around.
Would you win a league like we did, or win it at Wembley for a playoff?
Yeah,
Man, I think I want to go to Wembley.
yeah, yeah. I know.
Do you know what I mean? Our way was boring. We won it. It was
yeah.
I want to go to Wembley and win it properly.
Hey, I remember when we got promoted as well, though, because it was like the end of the season.
great, though,
we
wasn't
went
it?
straight into Alan Brazil's Blackadder pub.
Yeah.
I think he had the best night of his life that day.
I think my brother's still got a tab, I think, in there.
But, one of the things, there was no mobile phones in 1992. So the parties that you could have, and in your day, and no one was filming you, everyone was just enjoying it, absolutely enjoying it. So again, it's a period in your career that you never take for granted, and you absolutely look back with such fond memories.
Last week, Matt, we were talking to George about going up through the playoffs. It was a long time coming, wasn't it? So near, so near, so near, and then finally at Wembley. What a day out. And as Jason says, if you can guarantee going up through Wembley, what a day out that was.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic day, but it was the culmination of a lot of hard work. We'd been knocking on the door of getting promoted for quite some time. Obviously been knocked out in the semi-final, not even got to a final, so not even got to that Wembley occasion. But that year, I think there was a feeling that we would do it. We'd been behind in so many games over the course of the season. We had the character to come back. We'd done it in the first leg against Bolton 2-0 down, came back to draw 2-2. Call that in my house Marcus Stewart Day. Then obviously the semi-final, call that the second leg, the Jim Magilton Day. And then obviously the final itself was an incredible occasion to have all your family and friends there at Wembley and lifting a trophy and seeing your club into the Premier League. It's a dream come true. I always dreamt of walking up the steps at Wembley, because it was the old Wembley rather than the new Wembley. I always dreamt of walking up the steps at Wembley and lifting a trophy. I must admit, in my dreams, I envisaged it being an FA Cup, which the boys did in '78. But to do it with the playoff trophy, what a moment, what an occasion, and what a journey home as well. And George also talked about the bridges being full of blue and white, and the shirts and the fans, and that was the case on the way back on our bus journey back to the Suffolk Showground, where we went and celebrated that evening. So, yeah, amazing day, amazing occasion, and a dream that came true after a lot of hard work. Second
semi-final, so was Jim Magilton Day. So that night at the Suffolk Showground was Jim Magilton night, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was exhausted, absolutely exhausted, because the whole occasion takes a lot out of you. So playing at Wembley, the build up to it, the fact that you were so desperate to get promoted, I was absolutely exhausted. But some people wanted to celebrate more than others, and some people like a microphone more than others. And Jim Magilton's one of those, and he literally had the microphone all night, and no one could get it off him. He enjoyed himself, let's put it that way. He was actually, unfortunately, due to come to the game, wasn't he, against Brentford at the weekend? But his team were quite successful. They won a playoff in the midweek, which meant they were playing at the weekend, so he couldn't come over. Hoping he might come over for the West Ham game. We're still working on that. But Marcus Stewart's coming to the last day of the season as well, so he's coming for the West Hamers game as well. We're obviously in close contact with Marcus. Did the walk for him recently, which was incredible. Feet have just recovered. I've just started taking the compedes off. 93 miles over sort of 3 days and 2 hours sleep in that time. It was a tough old challenge, and it was great that Terry and Russell joined us, and Milts did as well for the last couple of legs. But Russell and Terry actually did a little bit more than that, didn't you? You did from Colchester United.
Well, we knew that you had to hydrate and you had to get the fluids inside you. And somebody said to us that Guinness is good for you, apparently. And it certainly was very good for us, yes.
Where did you stop?
Everywhere. We actually didn't want to come out of the pub, to be honest. We were pictured crossing the finishing line with a bottle of lager each. So that was, start as you mean to go on, I think.
Happy days.
Finish as you mean to go on, yeah.
Absolutely. No. So Jim and Marcus may be for the last day of the season. Certainly Marcus will be here anyway.
When I took George around the lounges on Saturday, he was quite pleased that Jim wasn't there, because he didn't think he'd get a word in edgeways. No. That's what he said.
He wouldn't have done.
It would be lovely to get them back. That's what we try to do, isn't it? We're trying to get as many players back on a match day and trying to reach out to people.
And can I just have a word for George as well, because there's nobody on this planet that works harder at making me a footballer. believed in me, believed in my attitude and application to the game, but worked incredibly hard on making me a better footballer. Every single day, worked on different things that I needed to improve in my game, and made a massive difference, and was the biggest influence on my career, and the reason why, I was able to play internationally and play at the World Cup and things like that. But a lot of that was all down to George and his faith in me, but also his coaching ability, making me a better player. There's a lot better footballers than me that never made it. Far better footballers than me that never made it a living out the game. I was a limited player, but I had a big heart, and George made me a much better player. So thank you, George.
Can we just add to that? Because this morning, George came into the Senior Blues Cafe and we met a lady called Claire who's going through the same cancer that George had. And he spent half an hour talking to this lady about what he'd gone through, how his treatment, what she can expect, and it was just a pleasure to be there. That's George Burley.
There was one player that you mentioned in passing a few moments ago that deserves some recognition this evening, I think, simply because you've probably got more stories about him than anybody else, and that's Danny Sonner. Any of you want to pick up on that?
So we should get Walkie up.
You can tell that one. You can tell, because I wasn't actually at that one. So you can tell. You tell that story.
We were going on a Christmas do. And we ended up, obviously, we're on a bus, we're going into London. And Danny Sonner turns up in exactly the same shirt that John Walker's got on. Not only that, he went, "Where are we going today, Dad?" He was such a character, Danny Sonner. He was hilarious. Anyway, so we go all around London, and then we end up in a place, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, it's called Stringfellows, right? So while we're waiting outside Stringfellows, because we're milling around, a load of footballers trying to go somewhere they shouldn't really go, Peter Stringfellow comes out and goes, "All right, Walkie." Like this.
Were you a regular, Walkie?
He goes, "All right, Walkie." And he's gone, "Where do you want to get?" He goes, Walkie's gone, "Yeah. All these lads are with me. Except him." And we've gone, Danny Sonner's outside. He won't let him in. But yeah, that's one of many, many stories. Tanner's the best at telling stories.
Yeah, Adam Tanner's probably the best person to talk to, because he was the sort of the big prankster in the dressing room. One of the best stories actually with Adam Tanner, for instance. So James Scowcroft's one of the tightest men in the world. I mean, he literally is the tightest man in the world. If he spent money, it was a big deal. And he bought an Armani jumper, and he'd spent 100 quid on this Armani jumper. The fact he spent 100 quid meant he had to wear it every single day. So he wore the same jumper into training every single day. Anyway, one day he's come back in from training. Adam had been injured. He was sort of having treatment. So James comes in from training, jumps in the shower, gets changed, puts his jumper on. As he puts his jumper on, he's only got one sleeve. So Adam's cut a sleeve off his jumper, but... And I say, this is a big thing for Sco. He spent 100 quid on this jumper. And Adam said, "Don't worry." He said, "Cut the other sleeve up, you've got a tank top." He was bloody funny. And the other good one with Adam was David Johnson, striker, bought a Rolex watch and put his clothes up on the peg, and just so everyone could see he had bought this Rolex watch, he put the Rolex watch on top of his clothes. So anyway, again, Adam's injured, so he comes back in from training, Jono, and Adam's put his watch back an hour. So he puts his watch on, he thinks, "This watch isn't working, it's gone back an hour, that's a bit strange," puts it back up to the normal time. Next day, Adam's done exactly the same thing, put it back an hour. So he thinks it's losing time. This Rolex, he thinks there's a problem with the watch. Anyway, this goes on for about a week, 2 weeks.
We've only got the jeweller in the room.
Have we got the jeweller?
Yeah.
So I didn't realise that, sorry. So anyway, he takes it back. Jono says this watch isn't working. So you send it back. You sent it back to Rolex. Yeah, so it said it's absolutely fine, gave it back to him. And then it carried on. So Adam's continuing doing it every single day, and his watch is going back an hour every single day, and he still can't work it out. So eventually, did he send it back to Rolex? Yeah, eventually it goes back to Rolex. They couldn't find anything wrong with it either, because there was nothing wrong with it. Adam was just putting it back an hour every single day.
Absolute classic. Brilliant. Jason, who was the joker in the pack for you?
Probably Dalian Atkinson, rest in peace, Dalian. Probably Dalian when he was at Ipswich in late 80s, something like that. Absolute crackers. I can't even say the stories. That's not for TV, no. But just a funny character at it. 24/7 when he moves, non-stop, messing about. Shall I give you one? Oh, God.
Yeah, go on, Jace.
Just keep the mic still.
Sweden one, Milts, when he's come down and... Yeah, the Sweden one's good enough, isn't it? On the boat? On the boat?
Yeah,
was it Nigel Clegg on it?
Yeah, there was trouble, you know.
Yeah, I can briefly remember it.
You know, we're on tour in Sweden and we're walking around in our tracksuits, creating a lot of attention, and the locals didn't really appreciate that. So there was this guy who wanted to fight all of us, honestly, and I'm looking at him thinking, I'm going nowhere near this guy.
It's going to kick off.
Do you know what I mean? And Nigel Glegon at the time goes, all right, lads, I'll look after you. Anyway, this guy just does this kick. Do you know what I mean? And Nigel's like doubled over. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we're in trouble here.
Yeah.
And then Dalian comes flying through the sky with his kung fu kick and knocks this guy clean out. And then we got to get out of it. We got to get out of it, mate. Honestly.
Yeah.
But we went to the unveiling of his bench because somebody was taken in terrible circumstances, still going on, I believe. Do you know what I mean? But he was just an unbelievable character. And as you will know, on his day, absolutely unplayable. The hat-trick he got against Middlesbrough that game, you will never see a more powerful striking performance.
Probably the quickest player with the ball, running with the ball I've seen.
Yeah.
And like I said, for that year, he was just, like I said, unplayable, electric. Just so sad what happened, really, to be honest with you. When it happened, I couldn't believe it, but it happened.
Yeah, him and Chris.
Him and Chris were tight. But, I'd known Dalian since 12. Yeah. When he used to come down from Telford in the school holidays on trial with, was it Ron Gray, was it?
Yeah.
He was a scout. Yeah, put him in, asked me to, can I put him up to stay at mine? No, mate. Put him into a hotel for a couple of weeks, but... fantastic player, but awful tragic news.
Skip, Luke, when you were skipper, who did you have to shepherd back to the hotel and keep an eye on? Who were the unruly ones in your era?
The Hunt brothers. They were carnage. We had one situation where we came off from a game and Hunty's having heart palpitations because he was just like Tigger, we'd call him at times. He just wouldn't stop jumping around all over the place. And I think it was a tough game. He'd running constantly. And he was like, they kept checking his heart for about half an hour after the game. He just couldn't bring his heart rate down. And we'd found out he'd had about 10 Red Bulls, like 4 before the game, some Pro Plus, 3 at half time. And he was literally nearly in an ambulance because he's had so much caffeine, which he didn't need any at all. And the likes of Luke Varney, who a few of the lads have had the pleasure of meeting, I think, a few times. Just no filter to anything that he did, any sort of consequences. He'd obviously deal with it afterwards, and there'll be Christmas do's where we go away to Ireland, and you got the big foyers of the hotel with the Christmas trees up, and you're about to go out at 7 o'clock in the evening, and he would come running down the stairs and just dive into the Christmas tree. And I'm there like, oh, fucking hell, Mick's going to kill me. And, stuff like that, you just had to stop.
Chops, Jimmy Bullard.
Oh, yeah, well. yeah, again, I've moved here, haven't I? And I've ended up living with Michael Chopra and Jimmy Bullard for 2 weeks in Chops' apartment. So yeah, you can imagine what went off in there. One time I'm sat there on the sofa, just laying on the sofa. I think Chops was playing PlayStation or whatever. I'm chatting to the missus on FaceTime. Next thing I know, Jimmy sort of walked into the room, then he's disappeared again. Next thing I know, he's got his golf bag on, and he puts his golf bag down, goes out again, chatting to the missus. Next thing he's walked back, stark bollock naked, and started practicing his golf swing behind me on the FaceTime. So it's just like, you know, that's what you're up against, and you're trying to control him in a dressing room environment. You just couldn't do it. Yeah, he had some mad stuff about him, old Jimmy.
Yeah. And Terry, Russell, what about in your day? Who were the jokers?
Seem quite tame, our lot, don't they?
Yeah, our lot were good compared to the yous lot. We didn't have we didn't really have jokers, because if you did something like that, put the watch back and things like that, you would get smashed. There were players would smash you. I mean, I really would smash you. So nobody dared go out of step and do things like that. We were too professional. we go down the pub and we couldn't remember what we did, but you know, it was too professional.
I think that's the quote of the night, that actually.
Yeah, far too professional. But I remember when I was in charge of the under-18s, I had Jimmy Bullard and Chopra to join my U-team squad one morning because they were late coming back from the Christmas function. About a day late, I think. And they turned up, and I was right over the far side of the training ground. I saw these two figures. It must have been about 10:30. You know, came sort of jogging over, and not in a straight line or anything like that. And Jimmy was absolutely smashed, and Chops was still pissed as well. Like, you know, we're just playing a little game of keepy-uppy rondos and stuff like that. And Chops has gone and controlled the ball. He's bounced up and hit him full in the face. And I'm trying to keep all my lads serious, you know. And it was just like carnage, absolute carnage. But Jimmy's a funny boy, isn't he? He's good as gold.
But there was a situation, obviously everyone knows about Chops' discretions and stuff that he had going on in his personal life, and I think Paul Jewell took that responsibility of trying to save him a little bit, and 3 days...
I got stopped by a couple of heavies.
Yeah, 3 days running.
Yeah.
Just two random...
8 o'clock in the morning, two big guys at the gate, and I phoned Julie, and of course the fellow had stopped me and said, listen, where's Chopra? Oof, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, I don't know where he is. Who? Michael Chopra. Nah, he won't be coming in today. What are you on about? So I get on the phone to Julie, Paul, whatever happens, don't send Chops in today, like, you know.
And we had
away from the place.
We had the Olympic gold medalist rower. I can't remember his surname. So he...
Redgrave.
It was not that one. one of the four. And he was coming
Vincent.
No, another one.
Cracknell?
Anyway. No. There's one more, I think. Anyway. So he was working with us, strength and conditioning, trying to bring some of that stuff.
His bodyguard, basically.
Yeah, basically a bodyguard for Chopra. The next thing he knows, he's disappeared off the training ground. We're training. He comes back with a car, parks it over the other side of the training ground. Chopra gets in the boot. He then drives back around the other side of the training ground into the gates and then to the far corner of the training ground until those guys left the training ground about 2 hours later. I think in the meantime, they were in Paul Jewell's office with Paul Jewell, basically finding out where Michael Chopra was. And that was the stuff that was going on in my first few weeks of an Ipswich Town player. So it got slightly better.
Slightly.
Yeah. Happy days.
Slightly.
Well, look, that's it for our legends now. Don't go away, chaps, because we've got lots still to do. Give a big round of applause, everybody. It's time for our awards. It's time for our end-of-season awards. We're going to rattle through these. And the first award we have this evening is the Ask the Legends Challenge, sponsored by Seckford Golf Club. So, if you watch the show, you'll know that Terry and Russell have pitted themselves against each other for the whole season. It's Terry's favourite section of the show every week, isn't it, Terry? Would you like to tell everybody what you really think of it?
Can I swear? Don't swear, okay. It was absolute hell. I look forward to it as much as pushing pins in my eyes. But apart from that, Russell did very well.
Thank you, Terence.
So I'm very pleased to say that the winner of the Ask the Legends competition this season. See, if you'd have known it was this, Butch, you'd have been playing a bit harder, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you
Russell Osman, everybody.
Well done, Russell.
Terry, you were runner-up.
What, do I get that?
No, you get a mouthful of Russell's beer.
Okay.
Right, next, our Table Football Challenge, sponsored by Fred Olsen Logistics. Now, we launched this at the beginning of the season, and it was Chambo versus the other two. And our winner, he scored 5 against our England internationals, Luke Chambers.
But he did spin.
I think if you make that sort of signal, he might do a fist pump.
No.
Come on. We'll be here all night. Oh, yay. Yay.
Clarkie's needs work, still does. But anyway.
Now, this category was decided by Terry Butcher. And the category is the biggest shorts of the season. So who could that possibly be? They were a bit tight in your days, Butch, weren't they?
They were. It's a good job it's spelled correctly, because it's like the biggest in the shorts of the season. But you can't really say that, can you? Who was the biggest in the shorts?
Right, who won it then? Come on.
Jack Clark! Unfortunately, he's not here to accept the trophy. There is a trophy for Jack, so we make sure he'll get that.
I think that's about the only award he's going to win this season.
Oh, Butcher.
Now, Terry.
Terry. Right, next up, goal of the season. So, who do we think? Any ideas, capacity crowd? Kayuste was goal of the month, wasn't he? But our judging panel has gone for Enciso's goal. He also has a trophy, which we will get to him.
Who was the panel then?
The panel? Did you not get the memo?
Fucking wind up this.
It was the week you weren't here.
One of them.
Because he comes when he wants. He comes when he wants.
You need a better song.
Player of the season. Now, this was made up, so every week we have our pick of player of the season. And so we've gone through, and there's quite a bit of debate and discussion on that some weeks, but the person who has had the most player of the season wins during the course of the season has got the trophy. It's none other than Liam Delap. He's got a trophy.
He couldn't make it either.
Oh, come on.
I'm surprised my vote didn't win it, because it was Al Hamadi.
You were slightly outvoted, Butch.
Was I?
Only slightly.
Someone take that microphone off him now. You know. Oh,
Jason,
yeah.
you've played up front. You know, just how good is Liam?
Yeah, for me, from the very first time I saw him, you know, you thought this is a special player here. Against Liverpool was the first game I saw him. I didn't see him in pre-season, but you could tell he's raw, he's hungry, he's very talented. And, you know, we had a special player on our hands, which is obviously the case now, 6 or 7 months later, with big clubs coming in for him. But, you know, credit must go to Kieran McKenna as well for moulding him into that kind of player, because obviously he was very raw, 20 years old, 20 million, still had a lot to prove. But Kieran has moulded him into a fantastic player, and yeah, we reap the benefits of it.
Butch, you were going to come in there?
Yeah, there was no award for the smallest socks of the year, but he would have won that as well, wouldn't he?
Well, we did discuss last week whether we were going to have the biggest thigh award.
Yep. He'd have won that as well, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe she should win the biggest thigh and the player of the season.
And the biggest calves.
Possibly.
And the biggest... No, I can't say that.
No, you can't say that either.
Allegedly.
We have 2 more to go. And the team of the season is the team that got promoted to the championship. ITFC women's team, our team of the season. They are in Dubai, or Joe rather is in Dubai. Joe, the manager's in Dubai. The rest are on holiday, I'm told. But Dan Palfrey's going to come up from the foundation to collect this. Come on, Dan, on their behalf. Come on, Dan. There you go, Dan. Take that back to Portman Road. In fact, you can take all of them back to Portman Road. Look, there's another one there. Look, take that back. Back at the end. All right, very good. You can take all those back to Portman Road. Final award this year goes to the manager of the season. And the award for manager of the season goes to the man I just mentioned who's in Dubai, Joe Sheehan. Now, Joe's been on the show. The women were on the show with us a couple of weeks ago. They were saying what a long journey it's been for Joe and the team over the last 4 years in particular. We did whisper in his ear that he'd won, and he sent us this message.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. Apologies I can't be there in person to collect this award. I think to be considered for this is an absolute honour, let alone actually win it. And a manager is only as good as the players that they have available and the staff that support them. So I accept this award on behalf of everybody that has played their part for our team this season, both on the pitch and off it. And like I said, I'm truly humbled and honoured to accept Manager of the Year. And again, I hope you enjoy a wonderful evening, and I'll catch up with you all soon. Thank you.
Joe Sheehan, and he's got a trophy as well. So Dan, I hope you got a big boot to take all these back to Portman Road. Thank you very, very much to everybody that's taken part in the show this season. It's been a fantastic season for us, and we've got a whole lot more to come next season as well. We have got 1 or 2 other things left to do. I mentioned earlier on that this season we've been raising money for the ITFC Foundation, also the Ex-Players Association and Cancer Support Suffolk. So would you please welcome onto stage one of our colleagues from Life's a Pitch, the man who's helped put it all together, please, Mark Calver. Now, Mark and I sat in a greasy spoon in Felixstowe about 2 and a bit years ago, wondering what we were going to do when Life's a Pitch was going to end on the radio. And we decided that we'd come up with some kind of YouTube show, and we didn't know whether it would work or not. But it's been a resounding success, and so much so that we've been able to make a donation already this season to the ITFC Foundation.
Yeah, that's right. And to be fair, we couldn't have done it without everyone supporting this room, our legends, our ex-players, everyone who gives their time up. Our sponsors have been amazing, year in, year out. And like Mark said, it came up as a bit of an idea. We didn't know what it was going to work. You were leaving BBC and didn't know what to do. So we come up with a plan, didn't we? And I think tonight has proven what a success it's been again. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
So the sum that went earlier this season to the ITFC Foundation. Well, let's welcome Dan Palfrey up from the foundation. Come on, Dan. Come on, Dan. He's been on the show already this season. Come on over here. Come right over here. The donation that we were all able to give, thanks to your generosity, our sponsors and everybody else, to the foundation, Dan, was £10,000. So what sort of difference is that going to make?
Yeah, makes a huge difference, because everyone knows we're a registered charity, so separate entity to the football club. Simply through the programmes and initiatives that we run, which is 34 that we now run in the community on a weekly basis in Ipswich and wider Suffolk, all the funds go back into that and reinvested back into the communities that we serve. So makes a massive, massive impact. You know, today Matt, Milts and George were at the Senior Blues Cafe, so support we get from the business community, but from the ex-players, the current players, the women's team is absolutely incredible, and supporters like yourself, it's amazing that you've really bought into what we're trying to achieve in the community. Sadly, there's a lot of need out there in Ipswich in particular, and wider Suffolk, so these funds will be spent in being reinvested back into that, reaching more people that are in need, whether that's through education, employability, health and well-being, various range of programs that we run. But like I say, sadly, that is increasing. So needs for the services and interventions that we run, it will be invested into that. So thank you very much to everyone that's viewed into the show throughout the season. Thank you.
Dan, thank you very much. Cheers, Dan does a fantastic job at the foundation. And when we were trying to work out what we were going to do with the show, we thought, well, what can we do? And every week we call upon Luke, Terry, Russell, the likes of Jason, Matt, Milts, George, Walkie, Roger. The list of people that have been on the show, ex-players, has been phenomenal, hasn't it? And so, as a thank you, we also made a donation to the Ex-Players Association. And perhaps Matt and Milts, you'd like to come up, because you're both involved in that, aren't you? And Terry and Russell as well. Terry, you host the Players Reunion Dinner when we made this announcement, where all the players get back together. So we were able to make a donation. Mark, tell everybody how much?
We raised another £5,000, didn't we?
So what does that mean to the ex-players?
So I was talking to Russell about it earlier. I mean, we never had any money, but now after a couple of successful dinners on the trot, and not just this year, last year as well, we've got £18,000 in our account as an ex-players association. We never had any money. So now we've got the opportunity to look after people who need it the most. So if we know of someone and we hear of someone who's one of our members, part of the association, a former player who needs a little bit of help, that's where it will go. So we really appreciate what you've done for us.
And the other charity is Cancer Support Suffolk. So I'm the CEO of Cancer Support Suffolk. Some of my team are here. Stand up, my team volunteers. We've got some ambassadors in the room as well, all over there. Hello. Hello. They do amazing work. And so your generosity at our Christmas event and our event this evening means that we'll be getting a sizable donation to Cancer Support Suffolk, which will help local people with cancer and their families as well. So thank you very much indeed for that. And we couldn't do it without our sponsors. So I know we've got lots of our sponsors in the room. So could you give our sponsors a big round of applause? It wouldn't happen without them. There are some sponsorship opportunities for next season. If anybody's interested, come and talk to Mark. He's our man who looks after all of that. So thank you very much to all of our sponsors, but especially to Dean Willingham from DPS Tech, who are our main sponsors. They've done it for the last 2 years. So please welcome Dean. Come on, Dean. And Lakens is here. Where are you, Sean? Come on, Sean. Come up as well. Come on. Sponsor of BT's Bar. And we've got many of our other great sponsors here tonight as well. You'll see them on the end credits in a moment or two. But Dean, you want to just mention a few things?
Yes, thank you, Mark. And I probably speak on behalf of all the sponsors. We love what we do with this. It's a fantastic opportunity to put ourselves behind something that does so much for the community, so much for the charity side that wasn't an expectation when I first started with it a couple of years ago. And pleased to say that after serious negotiation, backwards and forwards, bit of arm wrestling, well, actually we stood there and said, yeah, same next year. We're going to be the main sponsors for it next year, so I'm pleased to announce that tonight, so that's really good for us. But it doesn't, it helps to have the sponsors, it helps to have you guys that attend and do your subscriptions and hit the subscribe button and that, because that's how this thing gets funded. but it doesn't get thrown together. And one of the privileges that I have standing up here is being able to say, I think it'd be a good opportunity to say hello and thank you to all the team. You've heard their names on and off this evening, but I think it'd be great to have a whole team up here that we've had this season. So starting with our floor managers, and they're going to kill me for this, but it's Sarah Jane and Leslie. If we could have you up on stage and give them a round of applause as they come up. These guys are going to take a little bit of persuading. We've already got Mark up here, who does a bit of the knob twiddling and bits behind the scenes and all of that sort of stuff. But the other geeks that we have in the house is Richard Garrett down here and John Parker. Please come up here. You'll have to leave your bits together. Stand up then. They're not going to come up. I did try. They put an awful lot of effort in. They're here long before us and quite a long time after us as well. So they do put a lot of effort into this.
Dean, I have to say, he's the best knob twiddler I've ever seen.
Isn't he just though?
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
He has got a degree in knob twiddling,
He's
apparently.
a knob twiddling champion.
Now those guys are generally behind the scenes. We know who we know is in front of the camera most of the time. But I still think it's worth having a little introduction to them. So this season's new signing, we used to call him he swears when he wants, but we now call him he comes when he wants, Luke Chambers. I can only really, whenever I think of Russell, I always think of, we can do this. So we have here England legend, Ipswich legend, and film star Russell Osman. And Mr. Blood, Sweat, and probably everybody who's ever met has been left in tears himself, Terry Butcher. And of course, we can't forget the voice of Suffolk. We've all heard him pretty much everywhere. Everybody in this room must know his voice, even if you can't see him. It's Don't Be a Tossy himself, Mark Murphy, MBE. Thank you very much.
Dean, thank you very much. Thank you, Dean. Back next season, and we'll be back next season as well. We'll be watching Ipswich Town, the Tractor Boys, plough up the championship next year. Are you all going to be there as well? Of course you are. Thanks very much for being a great capacity crowd. That's it for this season. Back next season, and I'll leave you with those two mighty words, Blue Army!
This has been a Life's a Pitch TV production. Main sponsor, DPS Tech. Also supported by Lakens, All About Hearing, Forward Floors, Ginger Pickle, Fred Olsen Logistics, The Dove, Seckford Golf Club, Ashford Wright, John Keeble Cars, Venue 16, The Hudson Group, Come Hither Design, Sound 4 Pro Audio, and Suffolk Sound. Our charities this year, Cancer Support Suffolk and the Ipswich Town Community Foundation.